Thanks for watching Exploring Noosa. I hope you enjoyed the film. This is a short video just to go into a little bit more detail about the rods, the reels, and the rigs and the knots that I use throughout the film. The two soft plastics outfits that I use in the film are a 16-pound outfit and a 30-pound outfit. The 16-pound outfit consists of a 3,000 size reel, a 5 to 10 kilo rod, which is just under 7 foot, and I'm using 16-pound mainline braid tied to 16-pound leader. The second rig I'm using is the 20 or 30-pound outfit, which is a 4,000 size reel, a 6 to 10 kilo rod, 30-pound braid, and either 20 or 30-pound leader, and that's also just under 7 foot. The rod and reel that I'm using for my floating pilchards and my fast retrieve jigs is a 6,000 size reel, 5.5 foot jig stick rated at 12 to 30 pounds, and I'm using 30-pound braid tied to 30 or 40-pound leader. The rod and reel I'm using for knife jigs and small vibes is a 4,000 size reel, a really short PE3 5-foot jig stick, once again 30-pound braid, and I'm also using between 30 and 40-pound leader. For my live rig and heavy jigging outfits, I'm using one overhead setup and one spin setup. My overhead setup is a 5.5 foot rod rated from PE 2 to 5, and the spin outfit is also a 5.5 foot rod rated from PE 6 to 10. Both reels have 50-pound braid tied to 60 or 80-pound leader, depending on the depth I'm fishing. The rig I use for my floating pilchards is a pretty simple rig. It's just a set of 3 gang hooks. The hooks I'm using are Mustad Tarpon 7766Ds, and all I'm doing is with a set of pliers is I'm opening the eye up on 2 of those hooks. It's pretty simple, and just open it enough so that I've got enough gape on the eye of that hook for the other hook to feed through. I'm feeding that hook through the eye, and then with the crimping section of my pliers, I am closing that eye up so that it's nice and tight and there's no way of that hook to come out. And then I do the same thing with the third hook, get that through, make sure they're all the right way. And once again, crimp that eye shut like that. And there we go, a really simple and super strong gang hook rig. A rig I use a lot for live bait fishing and also dead baits is the snood rig. And it's a 2-hook rig made with Mustad Big Gun 6.0s and 80-pound leader. First thing I do is I cut a bit over 1 metre of 80-pound leader from the spool. With the first hook and the leader, I feed that leader through the eye of the hook, and then I tie a centurion knot. I want to make sure that knot is really tight. That's the main part of my rig. So I pull that really tight there and make sure it's a good tight fit. Second thing I do is I need to feed the second hook through the leader. Goes through the eye of the hook. And I feed that down the line, and I want to leave enough space between the first and second hook to accommodate my live bait or my dead bait. And in this case, it's about 15 centimeters. Then with the second hook and the main line held together with my thumb and forefinger, I wrap the leader around the shaft and the main line 10 times. Then, keeping tension, I feed that leader back through the eye of the second hook and pull that tight. And that gives me a snooded hook rig, which I can then slide a running ball sinker down, depending on the current. And I can also tie this end off to a swivel, which then ties to the main line of my rod and reel. The live rig that I use for catching pelagics like mackerel is called the Stinger rig. It consists of a Mustad Big Gun 6.0 hook, single strand wire tied to a treble hook, and also single strand wire tied to a swivel. The first thing I do is with my 6.0 hook is I use some single strand wire, which in this case is 65-pound wire, and I cut approximately 20 to 30 centimeters of wire. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make what's called a haywire twist by placing the wire through the eye of the hook. I put about 2 inches of wire through. I bend that wire over, cross it over, and then I want to make a twist. So I twist that around itself 5 times, and then with a set of pliers, I grip that tightly And now I need to wrap that wire around about 10 times. And once I've got that wrapped around the wire with my pliers, I cut off the excess. So once we've cut the loose end off there, what we've got is a haywire twist, and then we need to repeat the process by tying the other end to a treble hook, and then with another piece of single strand wire, we want to do the same thing and tie it to a swivel, and the end result is the stinger rig with the treble hook and a swivel, which we can tie to our main line, and we can also add a running ball sinker in there if we need to. I fish a lot with soft plastics these days, and one of the most challenging things can be getting the plastic rig correctly. The most important thing is to match the size of the plastic with the size of the jig head and make sure it's correct. The first thing I do is I line up the plastic with the jig head sitting next to it, and I check to see where I want the gape of the hook to come out of the plastic, and that gives me a visual starting point. Then what I do is I feed the hook down the eye of the plastic, keeping it as centered as I can because I don't want that plastic to look unnatural in the water. And when I can see that the hook is where I want it to come out of the plastic, I feed it through and then push that plastic onto the jig head so that it butts up against the weight at the front, and then check to see if my plastic is straight. And in this case, it's pretty straight, and that should swim really good in the water and create a nice natural action and attract a fish. So that's some of the main rods, reels and rigs that I use when making exploring Noosa. Some of the other rigs, such as the paternoster rig, or knots such as the FG knot, Century knot and Uni knots, there's loads of video tutorials already on YouTube which you can check out.